Hi Stampers, this is Melissa Johnson, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and you are stamping with MJ. I know it's been a while. I've been doing some creative things, but I've had some trouble with my neck, and that's been kind of putting me out of commission lately. So I'm hoping to get caught up here. I have a couple of videos I need to film for you, but I'm going to start out with this one. So this is a camera set called Capturing Smiles. And let me zoom out just a little bit here. There we go. So it's got some nice little scenes to go in this film strip die here, which we're going to use today. So I have taken my dies. I decided that I wanted to store everything in one envelope. That way, when I pull it out, I know everything is complete. So I have my stamps and my dies in one envelope. And I just wanted to let you know that that is possible to do and saves you even more space than having two envelopes. All right, so we're going to use that card, that set for this card. And we're also using, I think this was back in April. What is this, May? This might have been May's product of the month. It's the Eyelet Blooms Die. Absolutely beautiful die. We're going to use that on this card front. And then for this card, we're using Scalloped Wishes. And it's got, you know, dragonfly, some cattails, but the sentiments are really nice. You've got so very happy for you, take care, hello, I'm here for you if you need me, happy graduation for you and with sincere thanks. And then it comes with all of these dies. So you can cut out a larger dragonfly, which is what I did on this card. And then just your shapes with the frames. Just really a pretty set. And with this one, I'm just going to give you all the products now, and then we'll move on to making the cards. I used this Delicate Dreams paper. And I wanted to show you this. It's specialty paper. And when it's specialty, it means it has either die cuts with it, or it might have some metallic accents in it. And this has the metallic accents. It's just stunning. I mean, look at that. See how you've got the coppery toned metallics in there, and then you've got a nice neutral side. This one has this nice bright florally side. Let's see what else we got. Just showed you that one. Look at this one. This is all that coppery metallic as well. But then look at the other side. Isn't that beautiful? This would be great for masculine cards, I think. Then there's this one, which it's not my favorite, but look at the other side. The other side is gorgeous. So, oh, we still have more. Nice neutral one here, which we're using. And then look at the other side of that one. Isn't that pretty? Just love that. Look at how gorgeous. And look at the copper leaves in that. And then you've got another really nice watercolory effect masculine paper. So that's the Delicate Dreams paper. There is a Delicate Dreams suite that goes with that, but we're not going to go over that tonight. So I think we're going to start with this card because it's quicker. So let's start with this one. I wanted to start off by showing you, actually, do you see I used the same flowers for both cards, but they're colored differently. So for this card, I used watercolor pencils. And for this card, I used ink and a water brush. So I'm going to show you how I did those. So I have two flowers stamped here because I have everything else cut already, and I just wanted to show you that. Let me see. I did not pull out my green. Not real sure this is the right green, but we'll see. All right, so let's start with how I colored this one. So this is Hydrangea Hue, which is one of our new in colors, and it comes in the magnetic ink pad. Sorry, words are hard tonight, apparently. This I'm going to just squeeze, and then that's going to put some ink in the lid. And then I'm going to use a water brush. And I'm actually going to squeeze it out. So I have this this is a salt keeper, but I use it for my cloth. I'm going to squeeze it out on here because I want to get the bristles wet, but I don't really want to get a lot of water in the lid of my ink pad because you don't want to store water on top of your ink. So now I'm just going to come in here and I'm kind of brushing it out. I am going to add just a tiny bit of water in here because I don't have enough, but see, I don't have a lot and I'm going to use it. And then I'm just going to kind of, I'm starting, nope, I don't have enough ink on there. I'm going to start in the center and kind of work my way out. So see how that's kind of, it's not cooperating with me, is it? All right, I don't have my brush wet enough. There we go. And I'm just pulling that color out. I'm not squeezing it while it's on my paper. And I'm just going to continue it around. And this one, I'm not even going to the edges. I just kind of want to have, like, I guess the feel of it being colored in, but not completely. Okay, so that is the flower part. And so because my brush was a little drier, you can kind of see the brush strokes, which to me gives it a little more texture. Now, I don't have much water in there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out, I've got an old paper towel here. I'm just going to blot that off because I want to make sure I'm not putting that in my ink pad. All right, so that's the first color. Now to clean this off, I'm just squeezing it on my towel here. And then, I know this isn't a Stampin' Up towel, but I've had it for, I don't know how many years, probably at least 10 or more. It's kind of hard to make them go bad. Now this is our old style ink pad, Old Olive ink. I'm going to squeeze this also. This is a little harder to squeeze, but it can still be done. So see how much ink I've got there? Now again, I want to squeeze off some of that water. I'm going to put just a tiny drop in here. There we go. And I really want to water this down because it's a strong color on here. And I'm just trying to get that to be subtle. A nice little wash. So this is kind of giving you that watercolor effect. All right. So there we go. So that's how I colored the flowers on this card here. Now, let me clean my brush again real quick. And then, one thing I will say about water brushes is sometimes they because you have to squeeze them to fill them. So sometimes when you're squeezing them to get water out, it's actually sucking some of the color that you're using back up in it. So I don't know if you can tell, but my water is discolored in this brush. So I'll have to rinse that out later. All right, so now let's look at this one. So this one I used our watercolor pencils. I'm using Balmy Blue and Garden Green. So let's just find that darker green there. Actually, it looks like I was using this one, Granny Apple Green. So I'm just using this like a colored pencil. I'm not going to use water on it at all. I'm just going to color it in. So I'm going over with one layer of this, and then I kind of want to have some darker areas, right? Because in nature, everything's not all the same color green, right? So I'm just going to kind of come back and color just that inside part of the leaf a little bit darker, just to give it some dimension. So that's the leaf on that one. And then we have the Balmy Blue. And I really wanted really pale flowers on this card. So I'm not pressing at all. And look at this. It's not even light, and I'm not pressing at all. So you even need to go lighter than what I'm doing, which I'm trying, but it doesn't seem to be working tonight. All right. But you get the gist. So I used watercolor pencils on this one, and I used actual ink pads on this one. All right, so now we can start doing some of our assembly of our cards. So we're going to start with this card. So on this card, let me just show you the dies on this real quick, and then I'll show you what I used. So here are the dies. I'm going to put this here so you can see that. I used this larger frame, and this cuts the frame, but it also cuts the oval in the center. So on the outside of the card, I did not use the inside oval, and this is kind of an easel card, but on the inside I did. So save all those pieces because you can definitely use them. So we used the flowers. Now these I had to individually, no, I'm sorry, I did not. This is from, I don't even have this set out. I think it's, oh, here it is. It's from the Delicate Whispers set. That's where I got these flowers. So I used this flower and then these smaller flowers for these cards. And that has the die to cut the flower out. So no fussy cutting on this one. Look at this dragonfly. Isn't that fun? Do it with some metallic paper, or vellum would even be pretty. And then I do have a piece of vellum under here that I did heat embossing on with the Take Care. And on the inside it says, "I'm here for you if you need me." So now I have all of these pieces already cut, and I'm going to tell you what I did. So this is a standard card base. It's 5.5 by 8.5. I did score it at 4 1/4. And then I cut the card front itself in half. So 2 3/4, I cut it up. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to glue the right side to the back of the card. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're just going to kind of pretend that didn't exist. So glue that down. And I am making sure I line up my card pieces here. Okay, so that's that piece. Now this side, I turned this way and I scored. And let me check that measurement because it's quite a while ago since I've done this. So that is at about 2 1/8. So if you're at 4 1/4, this should be at 2 1/8. Okay, so that's going to give us our easel piece that's going to stand up when we're done with the card. Okay, so now I have this piece of the Delicate Dreams paper. This is 2 1/2 by 4, and that's going to go right here. This would be good for a masculine card too. I like when the back sides of the papers have something totally masculine as opposed to feminine, right? Because I know masculine cards are harder, but we still need them, right? Okay, so now on this piece, I have 2 pieces that I've cut that I'm going to have an even border all the way around. And these measure 2 1/2 by 1 7/8. So you need 2 of those. You could even use this side, but I thought that would compete too much, so I went with the subtle side. Okay, so we're gonna put that one here. And I'm just making sure I have a nice even border all the way around. And I do want the top of my paper to line up with the top of this paper. Okay, so we have that one. Make sure if your paper is directional that you're putting it in the right direction. We've all been there and glued our paper upside down, right? Okay, so now we're going to have this one over here. And again, I'm trying to make sure that that lines up there. Am I in close enough for you? There we go. Okay, so now on this piece, I want to take this Mossy Meadow frame, and I'm thinking this might be the smaller. Nope, it is the bigger frame. I'm only going to put glue on the bottom half of this. So I'm just going to put little dots here and there. Doesn't take a lot. And I just want it on half because I want it, I'm going to center it on here, side to side and top to bottom centered. So it will go from side to side on your patterned paper, but it shouldn't. You should have more space at the top and bottom. All right, I am just going to fold this back for a minute and I'm going to press this down. I want to make sure because I do have glue here. So I'm going to wipe that off and I'm going to put a little powder on that just so I don't have anything sticking to my card where I don't want it to stick. Okay, so we gave that a minute. So now that's stuck down. Then we're going to take one of our larger flowers and we're going to put a couple of dimensionals on it. So I'm going to put one right at the flower and one at the leaves. And then this is going to be adhered down here. Oh, look at that. I didn't let it sit long enough. So that's going to go kind of like that. And then we have two tiny little flowers. And this is also from that set. So here's our two little flowers. And I'm going to put those up here on the frame. So these I'm just gluing flat. I'm only putting one little dot of glue because I just want to stick them to this frame, but I don't want them getting stuck to the paper behind it. Now where'd my other flower go? There it is. All right. Is everybody surviving the heat? It's been like, I don't know, 94 here today. I think yesterday was like 95. It's been awful. I'm not a heat-loving person, so this weather is not good. All right, now we have this piece of vellum that's going to go on this side. I'm only going to put adhesive behind the words, just a tiny bit, and then, because it's got a white background, we won't be able to see that too much. But then I know that I have this dragonfly going up here. So I'm going to put just a tiny bit over there as well. Okay, not much at all. Vellum is very hard to adhere to things without the adhesive showing through. So you got to kind of hide it under things. That's why I hid it under the words, and I know I have this dragonfly going on here. So now this, I'm only going to put adhesive down the middle because I want his wings to be able to stand up. And then I'm going to put him right about there and hold that down for a second. It's also extremely humid here. All right. Illinois is not supposed to be almost 100 degrees. I don't care what time of year it is. All right, on the inside, we're going to take this frame and I'm going to center it. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to put it more toward the top because I forgot we have our easel down here and that's what we're using these other two sets of flowers for. So let's go ahead and glue this down. And again, I'm just putting little dots of glue all the way around it. It doesn't have to be completely adhered. Okay, so I just have dots of glue all the way around. I'm going to try to get it straight up and down because when I put my sentiment piece here that says I'm here for you if you need me, I want to make sure it's not crooked. And it'll be crooked if this is crooked. All right, I'm going to put a block on that for a second. Let's just let that, while that's adhering for a minute, let's go ahead and put dimensionals on the back of these flowers. So we've got this one and this one. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put these on while this is drying because they're not touching that frame at all. So what I want to do is put the left one on first. And since this one's stuck to my hand, I guess it's the left one. Because I don't want this flower to stick outside of the card. We want it to be hidden when the card is closed. So I'm making sure that that one is right at the edge. And then this one I'm going to tuck under a little bit and adhere on the right. And it's okay if it sticks out over here. It's not that noticeable when your card is closed. So that's why we want to do that. Okay, so now that this is adhered, we can go ahead and place this inside. And I'm just getting that inside of there. And look at that, it's crooked because I think I glued my frame on crooked. But we are going to go with it. Because you know what? Handmade cards are not perfect, right? Nothing handmade is ever perfect. At least none of my handmade stuff is perfect. So that's what makes it a little more, to me, special, right? Okay, so that is our first card. Pretty easy, right? I'm trying to, let's see how we can put that so that you can see it standing. See that? So that's our first card. I like cards that have some kind of pop-up or stand-up part. I think it's just kind of a fun thing to give to people. They see it and they're like, how did you do that, right? So that's why I like to do a lot of fun folds. All right, so now our next card is this one. And I knew when I saw this set that I had to have it. And then I got it and I was like, what am I going to do with it? So I was actually inspired by another demonstrator on this card. I think I did change it up a little bit, but not a lot. So, but it's good to be inspired by others, right? All right, so this one has a lot of pieces. We have a piece of, well, first of all, I'll start with our card base. This is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Then we have a piece of Moonlit, let's see, what is this? Misty Moonlight. That is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And that's going to go right on that card front and give us just a tiny border all the way around, like that. Then I did this Eyelet Blooms Die. And this piece I cut down to 4 by 5 1/4. And then that is just going to go on here. I did want to show you, however, these flowers on this die can be lifted. Now, I'm not sure if this die is still available. I know if they didn't sell out, it might still be available as a product of the month. So you'd have to spend $75 to get it for $5. $5 for a die is a great deal, by the way. But if you haven't already purchased it, because it's limit 1 per customer, if you haven't already purchased it, then you can purchase previous month's worth. But for each product of the month that you get, you have to spend $75. And it pretty much has to be on a separate order. So just keep that in mind. I will tell you some things have been selling out, like last month's Wild Things, or Wild... It was the animal set that sold out. This month is a begonia set, and it looks like this. It's called Begonia Bell, and this is a 2-step stamp set. So you're going to ink up this piece in full strength ink, and you're going to stamp off on this one, and it just gives you an absolutely gorgeous, kind of a realistic effect for the flowers. So I will be playing with that later tonight, and then I will post some things and show you that. All right, so let's go ahead and glue these pieces down, and then we'll go over the other pieces. So this is kind of a fun little thing to try to glue down because you have a lot of holes in it. So I'm trying to get it on more of the solid parts And I'm not really worried about all of the edges being glued down. I'm just kind of dot and glue here and there, trying to keep it away from any holes that I see. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to put on there. So this is going to get centered in the Misty Moonlight. Like so. Alright, just trying to move that down a little bit. And then we're going to put this on our card front. And look at that, it just came off. My glue is not really working well tonight. I don't know if it's the humidity. You wouldn't think that would do it inside my house with the air conditioning on, though. Alright, let's put that back where it goes. It's like really, I must not have gotten enough glue on that one. But we're going to make it work. Alright. Now, while we go over the other pieces, I'm going to put that giant block on there and let that sit for a second. Let's go over the other pieces that we're using. So I'm going to bring this back in. And I'll show you the pieces that I've used. So we have 2 of the film strips, and those are in basic gray. We have the camera, and this is kind of like the camera, I don't know, the shutter piece. I'm not real sure. Kind of maybe, I'm thinking like where the buttons might be, just to add some dimension. Then we have this piece is kind of like, this is the shutter piece where we're turning that. So we have all of these pieces like that. Then I have 3 flowers from that first set that we used. And I have 3 of the smaller flowers this time. There. And then I used just scraps of paper that I cut to be 1 1/8 by 2 5/8. And what I did is I lined them up and I stamped with this film strip laying on there. So I made sure that they got lined up. So I have one that's like this, and then the other one I'm going to turn the opposite direction, because if you look at our card, it's like they're pulling out of the camera. So this one is going to go like so. So let's go ahead and glue those down. And then we have Hello Friend, which at this point I couldn't even tell you which set that I got that from, because it's been so long since I've done these. If I figure it out, I will let you know later. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue these down, just so we can get a couple things. And I'm just gonna put a couple dots of glue down the sides. I'm not even going to worry about, like, we want to keep glue away from here. You could put a couple of dots across here to hold it. That's fine. I'm not even going to do the bottom though. That's going to be tucked behind the camera, so I'm not real worried about that. Okay. So here's our first one. And actually, I'm going to get my silicone mat out so I'm not making a huge mess here. All right, I'm just going to line that up and glue it down. Now I tried to make the white piece that I stamped on the same size as the width of the frame. Okay, so there's that one. And then let's go ahead and do this one the same way. But this time the tab is going to be down at the bottom. Okay, a couple dots across there. All right, so now let's glue that one down. Okay. Oh, I did it wrong after I just said that it needs to be at the bottom. That is why I use liquid glue, because I can quickly change my mind and move it around. Now, if you see any of the white hanging off the edge, just trim that with your scissors. I'm not worried about this up here. I'm tucking that under the camera, so I'm not going to worry about that. Now, we do want to do a little coloring to our camera and this piece. I wish I knew what that was called, but I don't. So I'm going to take Misty Moonlight, which I got the wrong color out. So let me grab that. Let's see. Not even sure where Misty Moonlight is. Hang on a second. There it is. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to use some Misty Moonlight ink and a blending brush. Now, I do want to have a piece of paper here so that I can take off some of that ink. See how you get like a harsh, I don't even know how to describe it, but when you ink up your blending brush and you first put it down, you get these harsh pieces, and we just want like a little bit of ink left on here. So I'm going to start with this piece. Actually, let's do it on this scrap paper. All right, so I'm going to start here, and I'm starting on the edges because I'm okay if my edges are a little darker. And I'm not applying a lot of pressure, especially as I go toward the middle. I really want it just nice and light. So I do have a little bit of pressure on the edges because I want that darker. And if you feel like you need more ink, go ahead and load up. Okay. Now, you could definitely color this with colored pencils. You could cut it with colored paper if you want, however you want to do it. But this is the way I did it for this card. I like that it gives it kind of, I don't know, it gives it a lot of different textures to the card. So if you look at it up close when it's done, you get nice variations of color there. All right, so again, I'm going to go darker on the sides and then just get lighter as I get in the middle. Oh, now look, but that's okay because it's going to be covered by that other piece that we just colored. But it's easier to add ink than it is to take away. So you can always go back over it and get it darker, but you can't take color away once it's on. Okay. And again, I'm just kind of using whatever's left in the brush to get some ink in the middle. I don't want it solid. All right. Okay, so there's our camera pieces. Now, we're going to pop this piece up. So I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of there, which I know I just had here, and now I'm not sure where they went. Oh, here they are. Okay. So I'm just going to put 4 on the back of here, kind of in the 4 corners without going into that arched piece there, or tagged piece. Okay. And then this is going to go on the front, and it's going to line up. I'll move that out of the way so you can see better. It's going to line up with that eye hole, I call it, right? Or the viewer. I guess it's the viewer. Okay, so we're going to line that up. Okay, so that's that piece. Then I'm going to start gluing these together. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to glue it to the front of that piece. So all I want to do is put a drop of glue around the edge here. Like so. Then I can lay that on there, and I'm going to center it as best I can. Like so. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to glue that down to the front of that. So I know a while back, and I have it, there was an iris die. That's what this reminds me of. And I was hoping it would fit this, but it didn't. It's too big. I just thought that would be a kind of a cool thing to be able to actually make it move. All right, this I'm going to glue down, and I'm just gluing it flat. I'm not popping that up at all because we still have the camera to pop up. All right, so that's going to go on right about there. I'm just centering it left side to side here. Okay, so now our camera's starting to come to life, right? Okay, so now our next step is to glue these on. And I'm going to put glue on here because I know that section is going to be completely hidden. And I want to use my card so that I know how far I can go with these. So I'm going to lay this on here on an angle. And I'm just going to press that down and glue it. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this. So I know I can only have it come out so far, right? I don't want it to come past the edge of my card. So again, I'm going to put glue on the front of here. And this time, I think, well, let's go ahead and do this on an angle again because we want to make sure that it's going to end up where we want it. So I'm just tucking that under. I'm trying to line it up so that they don't look like they're wonky. And then I'm going to press that down. Hold that for a minute. Okay. Now we can put dimensionals on the back of this piece. So I'm building this up. I am going to end up cutting some dimensionals. I'm not putting any on the film strip, but because I have the film strip doubled here, a dimensional will work there. So I'm going to actually cut one in half. I don't know if I want to use the larger ones or the smaller ones. Let's see. I'm going to go kind of like a point to a point so that I have a flat edge. Not sure I have, oh yeah, just enough. So I'm going to put one here, and then I'm going to put the other half right here. Okay. Now, if you see that your dimensional is hanging off the edge here, just trim it with your scissors. It's not, but you can tell it's a little bit bulky over there, so I went ahead and trimmed it. All right. So I was trying to think, nope, I didn't glue the film strips down at all. So this is what's going to hold all of this piece in place on our card, like so. Okay. Now we have to add our finishing touches, which is all of our flowers. And everything else except for, let's put this on right now. So this hello friend, I'm going to put a dimensional on the side that has the word friend. I'm just going to use one of the minis for that. I'm going to put that over here because it's going to hang off of this piece that we've already popped up. So let's take that off, and then we're going to add some glue to the other side so that it can stick to that shutter. And that's going to go right about there. But by putting that dimensional here, then they're the same level. It's not rippling on your card. All right, so there's that. So now let's start adding some of our flowers in. I hope I didn't just lose one of my little ones. Let's see. Well, I might have. It's hard to keep track of all the little pieces. Okay, I'm just going to put a little glue. I'm not doing a lot because I want to be able to tuck them. So like here, I want to tuck it under the camera a little bit and then have the leaves go on top of the camera. So I'm kind of leaving that without glue. Then I'm going to put one over here. Again, I'm tucking it under. I'm just placing that on there. And then this one is going to go over here. And again, I want the leaves to kind of go on top of the camera while this gets glued to the base of the card. Okay, and it looks like, unfortunately, I may have lost one of my little flowers unless it's stuck to something, but I'm not seeing it. So on this card, I used 3 small flowers. So instead of using embellishments, this time I used the little flowers. So I'm going to put one up here, and then I think I'm just going to put the other one down here, and if I find the other flower, I will add it back up here to the top, but I think for now, we're just going to do that. And then that is our second card. So I hope you enjoyed these cards. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and like this video. Subscribe to my channel, that would be great. And if you have any questions, please leave comments and I will try to get to them and answer any questions that you may have. I hope you have a great evening, stay cool, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.